Hi everyone, so it's La Haitian Atheist here, and I am so excited to be back, you guys. And so I know that in my last video I was talking about my like a little bit of my journey about how I became an atheist, and then at the end of the video, or yeah, towards the end, at the end, I was talking about why as Black people and as Caribbeans specifically, why I think we should really take a second look about the religion, um, that, a lot of Caribbeans and a lot of, Black people, doesn't matter where they are in the world, whether they are in Africa, in Europe, Australia, in the Caribbean, in North and South America. It's honestly something that we need to take a second look at, not just necessarily for, ourselves and what it's doing to us, but also what it's been doing to us as a race, right? Because honestly, now I'm not saying this was for every single group, right, of Black people, every single tribe or anything like that. But honestly, for the good majority of us, Christianity was shoved down our throat, to put it lightly, because I know that it was definitely something that was it was something that was forced upon us very brutally. And you know we have this in our head that religion, that Christianity specifically is a religion of peace. But if that were to be the case, then, well, why did it have to be forced upon us? But then again, where did they get it from, right? Because if you look throughout various parts of the Bible, you have, this God committing genocide and, just murder and whatnot, because people didn't follow him, right? And so, when you think about it, it's like, okay, well, he kind of forced us to believe in him, right? Because he was a jealous God. I mean, why do you need to be jealous for? You have all this power in the world, right? In the universe, you are the most powerful thing ever, and you're jealous about one species that you created, to worship you. That actually sounds very insecure to me. And so, right, when you read that in the Bible and whatnot, honestly, from the side of colonization, when they're looking at these examples of, what would God do, they were really not that far off. They were not that far off, in terms of committing genocide and whatnot. So yes, it was definitely something that was forced upon us very, very, very brutally. And so I would suggest that, if not for yourself, yeah, definitely take a look at it, how it has affected us. And not just in the past as well. I know what I'm talking about, was in the past. Some of it is in the present still, right? When missionaries come, they don't, a lot of the times, right, it's not a brutally forced upon us, right, upon, maybe certain tribes that they hadn't reached yet, or and whatnot. But still, it is in a way forced upon us, because a lot of the times missionaries, they come with AIDS, and you need to convert in order for you to get the aid that they are providing. And that is absolutely not okay, because if you're going to help someone, you need to help someone out of the goodness of your heart. And so, a lot of the times, not every single missionary, but very often, the missionaries are white. They are. And, it's just it's something that kind of makes me uncomfortable, because I feel like in some kind of way, shape, or form, it's like a blast from the past. Um, of course, there are black missionaries that do the same thing. There are missionaries, who come from, have it like an indigenous lineage to them, right? Native American or whatnot. That do the same thing as well. There's Asian missionaries that do that as well. It's not just white missionaries, but a lot of the times it is. Um, you know, I see like a lot of Jehovah Witnesses and Mormons and whatnot who go on mission trips, and a good lot of them are white. Uh, and I say, it makes me uncomfortable, just because of the history that black people have had with missionaries, white missionaries, right? And so, it's just something that kind of makes me uncomfortable when I hear, honestly, about any missionaries that are going there. But when I talk about white missionaries, as I said, it's because of, well, pretty much what we have dealt with at their hand in the past. And so, I think that, with colonization, slavery, missionaries coming in, with agendas, and they're not actually pure of heart with whatever aid that they're trying to, provide. I really do think it's something that, you should look into with Christianity, because honestly, Christianity, it's not made for us. I could talk about other religions, but I don't really know much about other religions. I know more about Christianity. And I can see how, for example, it has affected Haiti, because I mean, I guess to take that example, right, to make it more I'm sorry, to make it more specific, instead of talking about something broad, like all black people, because I don't know specifically how it's affected certain countries or certain tribes in Africa. I know that it has badly affected them. I have seen videos of people from certain countries in Africa, and how they're talking about colonization and Christianity and whatnot, especially ones who are atheists, right? Or some who are agnostic, and also living in the US, I know that a lot of atheists who are Black American atheists, how they talk about, Christianity, and how it has affected not just their community, but it has affected Black people as a whole, especially starting with their beginning of, with the transatlantic slave trade, and them coming here. And, something similar happened to us in Haiti. Though I do know a lot about theirs, I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily within that community. I know people, I know a lot of people who, are of that community, who, are African American. I don't know any who are atheists, actually. It's actually the videos that I see of Black American atheists that are, talking about that. But I do know a lot of African Americans, and I do hang out with them, and I see kind of like their interaction when it comes to, like, church, and, how that affects them versus like a white American, and how church affects them and whatnot, right? And so, but still, I'm not actually a part of that community, right? I'm a part of the Haitian community. And so, I can talk about, Haitians as a whole, especially my generation, and how they're kind of moving away from like religion and moving away from the church. Now, how it's affecting them in Haiti, I can talk a little bit about that. I do know a little bit about that. But I know more about the Haitians who live here, and how they're moving away from the church, and how that is affecting them, right? Because I actually do have a friend who is Haitian and who is an atheist. And so, I can, I, for her, I can definitely relate to her, right? But now if we're talking about Haitians as a whole, I think that, it has affected us very negatively. I think so because, we have had Catholicism because that's the biggest denomination, but Christianity, we've had Christianity in Haiti for a long time, right? Probably even before its inception of actual, Haiti, 1804, right? That we've had Christianity, of course, because of the slave masters. And I mean, till this day, it hasn't done any good, right? So if religion was so good, if God was so good, then, well, I mean, why isn't God helping, right? Why isn't God helping with the situations in Haiti and Port-au-Prince mainly, right? Um, why is God helping, all these other countries, mainly white countries, right? But they're, he's not helping Haiti. That's kind of the thoughts that would come through my mind, right? When I was a believer, because really, with the state that Haiti is in right now, mainly Port-au-Prince, because a lot of the times when people think that Haiti is doing bad, they think that it's affecting everyone in the country, right? And I know it's a small country, but honestly, a lot of the things that go down and who it affects the most, not saying that it doesn't affect anyone outside of Port-au-Prince, but who it affects the most are the people in Port-au-Prince. And I think that, we need to differentiate when we're talking about the state of Haiti. A lot of the times they're talking about the state of Port-au-Prince, right? Um, and so, it's just with things going on in Port-au-Prince and, certain things that are actually, going on outside in, the other cities outside of the capital. I mean, why hasn't God helped us yet, right? Why didn't God, help us when, we were being occupied by Americans, right? Why did we have to fight for our own freedom? Why, right? And then on top of that, being punished, because it says, so they always say that God helps those who help themselves. I would say that having a 12-year revolution in order for us to gain our freedom was definitely helping ourselves. Yet we're being punished for it till this day, right? By big countries, big Anglo countries like the United States and France, and I'm sure other countries, non-black, non-POC countries, right, having a great effect. Now, I don't want to go and say that there's absolutely no other, POC or black countries, because you never know. You really would have to do some real digging, in any kind of like history books to see if that's the case. But I think we can all agree that the majority of the countries that are really affecting Haiti negatively are, well, they're white countries. They really are. And so, we did help ourselves, right? 12 years. 12 years we helped ourselves to get out of slavery. And where was God's help? Where? Why are we still in this state that we are now when, all we wanted was to not be treated like property, was to not be slaves, right? And so it's stuff like that, that I think about. I mean, there's a lot more things I think about in regards of Haiti and, religion and whatnot. But this is honestly one of the biggest things. And I think that, if you really look at it, right, as a Haitian, if you really look at it and you're like, wow, okay, all we wanted to do was to live in peace. And yet we have turmoil after turmoil after turmoil. And where's this God? where is this God that we've been worshiping for centuries? And whether it's natural disasters, whether it's foreign countries that are affecting Haiti time after time, I mean, we see that this God, if he's working in mysterious ways, I mean, that's one hell of a code to crack, because you know we're still in this state, right? Haiti, or Port-au-Prince, is still in this state. And I mean, there's a lot of apologetics out there that say, oh, well, maybe it's not his timing and this and that, but people are dying and people are suffering, right? Because his timing, or he just doesn't want to yet, or whatever it is, right? And so I think that I could never worship a God, a deity, who actually would let people, whether I know them or not, would let them suffer because he doesn't feel like intervening yet, right? And so, and this doesn't just happen in Haiti. This really does happen all over the world, where there are countries that are in complete turmoil, especially black countries that really are doing not so well at all. And God hasn't helped them yet, and I'm sure they tried helping themselves. I'm really, really sure that they did, right? And countries in Africa, other countries in the Caribbean, African Americans, right? They have really, they have been helping themselves as well, trying to get out of pretty much the turmoil that white Americans put them in. And, they've had to do it themselves. Black Panthers, civil rights movement, even before that, they really tried doing it themselves. But where's God? How come God doesn't come down and how come he didn't stop slavery? Why didn't he stop Jim Crow, right? Even now, as black people are facing more discrimination than any other group in the U.S., I mean, where's this God now, right? Where in the Caribbean, a lot of the Caribbean countries are poor, right? And it affects black people in those countries. Where's this God, right? Where, I mean, honestly, you can say it for how it's affecting black people all over the world, who have so-called helped themselves, who are not just that, but then who are devout Christians. They are devout Christians, right? Their whole lives revolve around this God and praying and, doing what they think pleases that God. And still, there's good times and there's bad times. Just as, people who don't believe in a God. But I would say the difference though is that actually the country with the highest non-believers is a white country, and they are doing much, much better than other countries, especially black countries, right, that have a very, very low number of non-believers. And I think that is some food for thought, right? That is some food for thought. I think that next time we should really look into, we should really talk about, not, well, so today I talked about like why we should really kind of like step away from, believing in a God because of how it's affected us. But I think that next time we should honestly talk about how would it look like if, there was a black country that the majority of its citizens were non-believers. Because I think it's Estonia, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I looked it up, it was Estonia that has the highest number of non-believers in the world, and they seem to be doing really great. Of course, I've never been there, nor do I live there, but from what I researched, right, about them, they seem to be doing pretty well. So yeah, I really do wonder, what if we had a black country where there were majority of them non-believers? How would that look like? As always, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and thumbs up if you like this. And also put your comments below. I would love to hear what you guys think about the next topic I'm going to talk about. I would love to hear what you guys think about this topic, actually, that I talked about. Did I go into enough detail? Was I missing something? Please let me know in the comments below. Bye.